Greetings, everyone. Well, it's a little hard to know where to begin with today's Blu-ray update slash review. I've actually watched everything that's on this particular Blu-ray, so this is going to be a proper review, not just an update. Many credit this film as being the proper beginning of the science fiction genre in film, although there had been a lot of sort of short sci-fi-like subjects done in film before. This was the first proper full-length epic scale science fiction feature-length film. What else could I possibly be talking about other than Metropolis? And that's what we're going to talk about today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Well, you'd have to be living under a rock not to have heard about this release, because this was such huge news in the film world. For the first time in over 80 years, we are able to see the single most complete cut of Metropolis that has ever existed since its original premiere way back in 1927. When Metropolis originally premiered in Germany in 1927, it had a running time of 153 minutes. However, when it got worldwide distribution, large chunks of the film were cut out to make it more palatable for foreign audiences. At the time, roughly 90 minutes was considered the optimal length for any film to be shown theatrically, I guess, for much the same reason that theaters like shorter films today, so they can cram more showings into a day and get a little bit more money out of each day's showings. Now, being 1927, this was of course long before the days of home video, DVD, director's cuts, extended cuts, and special editions. So, a lot of the footage that was cut was junked, and until now was thought to be lost forever. Now, the original 35mm film prints of that footage are pretty much guaranteed lost forever. However, a few years ago, a 16mm duplication print was found that actually contained the complete cut of Metropolis, the actual full-length premiere cut, which had not been seen in about 83 years. So in 2001, there was an effort to restore Metropolis to as close to its former glory as possible. Part of this restoration process involved taking elements from multiple prints, but one of the biggest things that they did was they actually dug up the original film score and re-recorded the entire original film score. So in addition to it being the best looking version of Metropolis that had been seen at the time, for the first time since its theatrical run, we could actually hear it with the original music that was composed specifically for the film. Now, as for the material that was obviously still missing in 2001, we had additional interstitials, or titles, title cards, to explain the missing footage. So it was as close as we thought we were ever going to get to a complete version of Metropolis at the time, until 2005, when a print was discovered in Argentina that had about 11 minutes of additional scenes that had not been seen since the 20s. So that additional footage was worked into the restoration project, which it seems by this point had become something of an ongoing effort. Every time they think they're done, they find something else, and then they find something else, and well, this is good. It just means we keep getting better and better versions. So finally, in 2008 in New Zealand, a 16mm duplication print of the complete original premiere cut of Metropolis was discovered. Now, this is nothing short of a miracle. We're talking about a film that's over 80 years old, that for all intents and purposes we thought conclusively that we would never see the complete version of it as originally envisioned by Fritz Lang. But then they discovered this 16mm print of the original premiere cut, and so the restoration process began anew. Now, the quality was pretty rough in comparison to the 35mm prints of all the other cuts, but at least it meant we could finally see all this missing footage. Now, previously, the only version of Metropolis that I've owned was this VHS edition, which I believe is the 70s version that the BBC produced with a new synthesizer score. And it's not bad, but you may notice it says running time 139 minutes. Whoa! How is it a running time of 139 minutes when they just discovered 25 minutes of new footage recently? Well, I think the way that works is they mucked with the frame rate a little bit and added a few more interstitials in between to pad out the running time a bit. So really this isn't very much different from the cuts that we'd seen previously. This particular VHS release came out in 1993, so it was well before any of the major restoration efforts had taken place. Now prior to this, the only version I had seen was the heavily edited and color tinted Giorgio Moroder cut, where Giorgio Moroder, who is noted for a lot of film score work such as Midnight Express and Cat People, probably being the two that he's most well known for. He did a whole new score with a lot of popular rock musicians of the time, including Freddie Mercury actually, and they did a whole bunch of songs and re-released Metropolis theatrically. Now this was a heavily cut down version, ran in the vicinity of 90 minutes. But that was the first version of Metropolis that I ever saw. And I remember even at the time thinking that the score was so atrocious that I actually just muted the audio and I watched it with no audio whatsoever. Which had kind of a strange effect because I found that as I was watching it with no sound, I started to almost hear the actors speaking. Like you'd see them talking and stuff, and it's like with the absence of sound, your mind starts to play tricks on you, and it made it kind of a trippy experience. So I would see them, you know, talking and whatever, and I could almost swear I could hear them speaking, and it made it a very unique and different kind of experience. So try that sometime. Watch a silent film with no audio whatsoever, no music, no nothing. And it's a pretty trippy experience. So the big problem I had with the Giorgio Moroder version, and the reason I muted the sound, was because a lot of the songs had lyrics. And I found the lyrics incredibly distracting. I was trying to focus on the story, and the lyrics just kept interfering with that, you know, focal attention. So I just muted the sound, and I've never watched that cut all the way through with all the audio intact because I just can't stand it. And I say that as someone who's normally a big Giorgio Moroder fan. I love his movie score work, but not his work on Metropolis. Nope. So with the complete Metropolis, this is definitely the one to get. Now, with this version, I liked it because obviously it was a longer cut than the Giorgio Moroder version. It didn't have that god-awful music score. It just has a nice synthesizer score. But still, it's a synthesizer score that doesn't really seem to match up perfectly with the images. It just seems kind of more atmospheric than anything else. And it's not a bad score, but you know, it really doesn't capture the essence of Metropolis as well as this version, which has the complete original score. Now, I didn't realize just how much attention had been paid to the score in this movie originally. I mean, it all syncs up perfectly with the visuals. It is intended to be watched with that score, because that score marries perfectly with the visuals and creates a complete experience where it elicits the right kind of emotion and feeling and heightens the tension of the action sequences and whatnot. And it's just such a better experience with that original score. So I was talking about how the 16mm film footage that was discovered was pretty rough in quality. Yeah, that's an understatement. It's very rough in quality. I mean, it's very jarring when you see the 16mm footage cut in. But for something like this, just the simple fact that we have that footage and that we're able to see what we've been missing all these years makes it very easily forgivable. I mean, it's never going to look any better than it does, unless through some miracle they find a 35mm film print. But I think 2 miracles for one movie is a little bit much to ask. We're lucky to be able to see it in this complete form at all. Now, apparently there was additional footage on that 16mm print that was not included in this edition simply because it was in such rough shape that it was just impossible to restore properly to include it. So in those cases, we have, again, interstitials sort of explaining what's missing, so that between the new footage and the new interstitials, we actually do have a complete story. That's something else, is a lot of the alternate cuts that have floated around over the years are, of course, incomplete, but they're also incorrect in a lot of ways, in that they've got scenes in the wrong order or things like that. And there's just a lot of aspects of it that either A, don't make sense, or B, just don't give you the full impact of those scenes because of the missing footage. Now, I found that This version was one that I would pop on from time to time, but I didn't really feel compelled to rewatch again and again. This is an incomplete vision. This is only part of Fritz Lang's total, all-encompassing vision for Metropolis. This is a completely different story. This I will rewatch again and again and again, because seeing it with the additional footage and with the original score makes such a difference. You finally get to see and realize just how complete a creative vision this film was. And not only that, but just how well it works simply as a film. You know, I mean, there's moments of suspense and tension and mystery and intrigue in here that are easily on par with stuff you see today. Now, obviously, the pacing is quite different. I mean, this is 80 years old, but just in terms of how gripping it is and how much it holds your attention, I was really blown away by what a difference this cut makes over all the different versions I've seen over the years. This is just a fantastic, fantastic restoration. I mean, it truly is, I think, the most complete we're ever going to see this film. I mean, the simple fact that they even discovered that footage is a miracle. You may be wondering why it was 16mm and not 35. Well, apparently the reason for that was the film archive that was holding it originally did have a 35mm print. However, if you've seen Inglourious Basterds, you'll know all about this. It was the old nitrate film, which is highly flammable and extremely dangerous to store. So they just didn't have the budget, I guess, to do a 35mm duplication, so they did a 16mm duplication. Of course, at the time, having no idea that it was the only complete print of Metropolis in existence in the whole freaking world. I mean, they just didn't know. It's as simple as that. They just didn't know what they had. I mean, they just naturally assumed it was just another one of those Metropolis prints that have been floating around for years. So obviously, if they had known, they would have done a 35mm dupe if they could afford it. But yeah, unfortunately, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm just happy that we're able to see this footage in any quality at all, because it really does add so much to the film. And it makes so much more sense now, and really is properly complete. Now, in terms of the picture quality, the 35mm footage, which is the majority of the film, the 35mm footage looks fantastic. I mean, you may recall the 1080p comparison video I did showing the difference between DVD and Blu-ray a while back, where I showed some stills from The General, Buster Keaton film, The General, and just how good they looked in comparison to the old DVD version. Well, it's much the same with this. I mean, this is the best Metropolis has ever looked, and quite possibly the best it ever will look. I mean, they really put a lot of work into the restoration, and it's been an ongoing process. I mean, this is not just one single restoration. This represents the efforts of several restoration projects, starting back in 2001 and going all the way up till last year. So not only taking the best elements from all the different prints out there, but also incorporating the new footage found on the other two versions, the Argentinian print and the New Zealand print. So very cool stuff. So let's take a closer look at the set itself. It's in a very nice slipcover. There is, I should mention, there is a lenticular version of this slipcover as well, that actually has a lenticular version of this, and you go like that, and the rings move up and down just like they do in the movie. So very cool. I didn't even know that existed until yesterday, actually, the day before I'm filming this. And but this is the only version I've seen in stores. If you're wondering how much I got it from, well, I mean, it's the complete Metropolis, so really I had no problem paying full price for it. I think I got it for 25 bucks, maybe 30, I don't remember. But given what it is and how many years of enjoyment I know I'm going to get out of it, I really had no problem paying that price for it. And I'm more than happy to support the efforts of Kino by paying full price for this. Kino is the same company that's been doing the Buster Keaton releases, by the way. So okay, so taking a look at the case here, it's basically the same as what's on the slipcover. I'll open it up, and oh my god, an insert. We don't see that very often. So we have very nice artwork there, and then an insert. Oh, we also have just a little ad for some other Kino releases. So this is a nice little book that actually goes into a lot of information about the making of the film, which is actually really interesting, because when you see the special effects in this thing, I think you'll be really blown away, especially by the fact that this was done 80 years ago. I mean, they did huge scale miniatures and did stop motion animation and optical effects. I mean, I cannot stress enough just how ambitious a film this was at the time. I mean, there had really never been anything like it. And then if we take the disc out, there's a still of the part of the underground city where the workers live there. So very cool stuff. If you're a fan of dystopian films and you know, deep commentary about the industrialization of society and man's place within the machine, I definitely recommend checking out Metropolis. Not to mention the fact it is, without any fear of contradiction, it is one of the single most influential science fiction films in history. Gee, can we say Blade Runner maybe took some inspiration from this? Yeah, a lot of movies have taken inspiration from this over the years. It's just, it's a visual feast for the eyes. It's, you know, it's not a particularly deep story, but it is kind of thought-provoking. It does have some nice little social commentary in there. Just some wonderful performances. In the rediscovered footage, I was really impressed by the performance of the actor who played the Thin Man, who's sort of the right-hand man of Joe Friederson, who goes around doing various things and spying on people and stuff. I really liked that character a lot, and can't believe that the majority of his scenes were cut out for so many years. And without giving away what happens, the absolutely epic final sequence at the end of the film, just the grand climax of the movie, is just spectacular. And you'll see just how much material was cut out originally and just how much better it is with all that material reincorporated. It makes it so much more powerful and suspenseful of a scene. I was on the edge of my seat through the whole darn thing. It was just absolutely spectacular. So let's take a quick peek at the special features here. There's actually not a lot of special features considering what a major release this is, but what there is pretty good. So of course, talking about the score, they have a little blurb about it here. We do have the original 1927 score by Gottfried Huppertz, performed by the Rundfunk Symphony Orchestra in Berlin, conducted by Frank Strobel, and presented in DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. So you get this beautiful high-def audio surround sound version of the score. It's an awesome score. It's like, I'm a big fan of classic orchestral scores, and this one takes a lot of cues from a lot of classical music and such. You'll hear a lot of Wagner in there, for example. And it's just fantastic. It really adds I cannot stress enough how much it adds to the film, having the original score and seeing just what a complete marriage of visuals and music that the full complete vision of the film really is, and it's just spectacular. So then in terms of special features, we have Voyage to Metropolis, a 50-minute documentary on the making and restoration of the film, and an interview with Paula Felix Didier, curator of the Museo del Cine in Buenos Aires, where the missing footage was discovered, and the 2010 re-release trailer. So yeah, essentially you have a lot of information about the restoration, a little bit about the making of the film, and what isn't covered in the documentaries is covered in the booklet, and there's a bit of overlap of information there too, but that's to be expected. So if you're at all a classic film fan, if you're a science fiction fan, if you like dystopian epics, if you like silent films, if you're into film history, if you said yes to any or all of these things, get Metropolis. It is absolutely 100% worth it. Highest possible recommendation. This is just a fantastic release, and I will be enjoying it for many years to come. I will cherish it always. So the complete Metropolis from Kino. Kino's making a lot of waves lately. They've been doing some great work restoring a lot of old silent films. They've done, of course, this. They've done they've done a good chunk of the Buster Keaton films, including the aforementioned The General. And yeah, so can't wait to see what else they come out with. I'm really hoping that they do, I'm sure this is going to come at some point because they did some nice DVDs of them. Nosferatu and The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. I would love to see those get this kind of royal treatment. So, fingers crossed, and toes. Yeah, you don't want to look at my feet. Alrighty, well, the complete Metropolis. Get it. You won't regret it. And if you don't like it, well, then you're just a very silly person. Alrighty, that's it from me to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.